We have now completed our journey through the zodiac cards and the Major Arcana or Triumph cards of the tarot, and we will next explore the Minor Arcana, starting with what is known as the court cards. We will begin with the King of Swords, who has an esoteric meaning of pure thought. Hello, I'm Michael J. Auger, creator of the Allcento Tarot. Before we take a closer look at the King of Swords, let's first dive into a bit of history of the Minor Arcana. The origin for these cards date back to before the cards of the Major Arcana were added. Before the tarot existed, there were simpler playing cards like the Mamluk deck, which, similar to the tarot, is divided into 4 sections or suits: scimitars, cups, polo sticks, and coins. Polo was a popular sport among the aristocrats of the Mamluk Empire, and over time, these polo sticks evolved into batons or wands. Likewise, coins evolved into pentacles, or discs. Scimitars became referred to as simply swords, and cups remained cups. However, returning our focus to the Mamluk deck, each suit originally contained 13 cards, ace through 10, plus 3 court cards, a king, a lieutenant, and a second lieutenant. Following Islamic tradition, the depiction of human figures was avoided in favor of abstract interpretation. The ornamented designs of this deck often include a horseshoe arch, as seen in Islamic doorways. And written in calligraphy above the arches on these cards are rhyming aphorisms that translate to say things like, "The Alif rejoices and fulfills your wishes," or "With the sword of happiness, I shall redeem a beloved who will afterwards take my life," or "As the present that rejoices, thy heart will soon open up." You can see how these cards could easily be used for fortune telling, and this has led many to speculate that cards have been used for both games as well as cartomancy from their earliest incarnations. We know for certain that the playing cards that predate the tarot were also used for fortune telling. The court cards of the Mamluk deck evolved into the king, queen, and jack. The tarot built upon the tradition of playing cards, but retitled the jack as a valet or page. And another court card was added, a man on horseback, titled chevalier or knight. A possible reason for the addition of a 4th court card may have been to allow correspondence with the 4 elements. Although undocumented, there are many who believe that the tarot was originally designed for so much more than just simple card games, especially considering the addition of the elaborate triumph cards that we have already reviewed in previous episodes. By including a knight, the 4 suits each have 4 court cards. The number 4 has long been considered to have a sense of stability. A table is most stable with 4 legs. And when trying to create stability, we often divide things into 4 quarters, the 4 directions, the 4 seasons, and the 4 elements. We can only speculate what the original creators of the tarot had in mind and what correspondences the earliest cartomancers used. I have another video that you can watch that explores this topic in greater detail. And while there has been different variations over the years, for the most part, the elemental associations have settled into air linking with kings and swords, water with queens and cups, fire with knights and wands, and earth with pages and discs. These 4 elemental energies also correspond with thoughts, emotions, actions, and the basic order or structure of things. So now, let's begin our journey into the Minor Arcana court cards, and who better to start with than the king? Each of the kings correspond to the element of air, and this seems logical, as we would hope that the person in the highest seat of power is a wise thinker. In addition to the elemental association linked to rank, there is also an elemental association linked to the suit. So the King of Cups is a combination of air and water. The King of Wands is air and fire. The King of Discs is air and earth. But the first King of Swords is not a mixture of different elemental energies, but instead a pure representation of the qualities of air. Esoterically, this means he represents the idea of pure thought. He is calculating, combative, and decisive. The King of Swords, depicted in the Visconti-Sforza Madrone Tarot, also known as the Carry-Yale deck, is seated with crossed legs facing forward. However, if you look closely, his eyes are looking left, and his sword is also leaning left, which might suggest a focus on past traditions. However, in the Marseille tradition, the King of Swords is often depicted looking right, towards the future. When interpreting meanings from images, every detail is a clue. Which direction is the character looking? What body language is used? How are they dressed? Is the background natural or artificial? The King of Swords from the Philippe Vachier deck of the Marseille tradition features a young man looking like he's ready for battle, ready to get up at any moment. His feet point to the left, while his face is turned to the right. And this could be interpreted as a leader who builds on the past, but who is also ready to make progress and try out a new idea. Engraved on his throne is what appears to be a vine with two segmenting lines, suggesting the uncertain future may prosper and grow, and restrictions could be systematically cut off. With one hand, he holds a large sword that rests on his knee, and his other hand is gripping what is most likely a dagger, although some have interpreted it as a scepter or even a measuring device, which would be fitting for a personality that is focused on logic and facts. Moving forward in time, the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn attempted to uncover the esoteric meanings of the tarot and also added their own. When linking the court cards to the Kabbalah Tree of Life, they were forced to retitle the king as a prince so that their knight, linked with fire, could be placed above him. The Golden Dawn Prince, linked with air, is the equivalent of the king who sits at the center of the Tree of Life. And the knight on horseback, which they call a king, is depicted at the top of the tree. In the Golden Dawn's manuscripts, known as Book T, that was created for initiates into their secret order, it explains the four kings, or figures mounted on steeds, represent the yod forces of the name in each suit. A force swift and violent in its action, but whose effect soon passes away, and therefore symbolized by a figure on a steed riding swiftly and clothed in complete armor. Therefore is the knowledge of the scale of the king so necessary for the commencement of all magical working. What this means is that the elemental associations were vitally important to the members of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. And so they renamed the king a prince so that the knight could be called a king and remain linked with fire and be placed above him. I discussed this further in the same video I referenced earlier, which I will also provide a link to in this video's description. The reason I mention this is because what is arguably the most famous tarot deck, created by Golden Dawn members Arthur Edward Waite and Pamela Coleman Smith, doesn't use the Golden Dawn system, calling the knight a king and the king a prince, but instead uses the traditional titles, but swaps the elemental correspondences. Despite Waite's attempts to disguise true correspondences to honor secret oaths, most modern tarot readers disregard his blinds, as the secrets of the Golden Dawn have long ago been revealed. The King of Swords, depicted by Waite and Smith, holds a sword that is larger than half the length of his body. And this sword is not held straight up, but like other historic depictions that came before, it leans a bit to the left. There's a butterfly and sickles sculpted into the throne to symbolize transformation and a connection to higher consciousness. The top of the throne is not visible, which may suggest unlimited potential. just like a thought. The Thoth tarot deck, created by Aleister Crowley and Lady Frida Harris, uses the Golden Dawn titles, and so the king becomes a prince. He is seen sitting in a chariot that is drawn by winged sylphs that pull in various directions like easily distracted children. This represents the idea that when we overthink or have scattered thoughts, it can be paralyzing. However, when we have strong will and are of one mind, there's no limit to what we can achieve. This prince holds a sword in one hand and a sickle in the other, which symbolizes that he is both the Alpha and the Omega. He may struggle to steer his chariot and maintain focus of his scattered thoughts, but ultimately, he's able to direct with calculated resolve. And here's the King of Swords from the Allcento tarot that I created. This king is seated to face forward, looking directly at the viewer. He holds a sword in his right hand, slightly leaning to the left. And in the Golden Dawn tradition, this king also holds a sickle in his left hand. With swiftness and strength, he slays as fast as he creates. His long beard gives an impression of philosophical calm. He wears a delicate elven crown of gold over an unusual hooded purple cloak. The design of his armor is reminiscent of the emblem of a staff sergeant, which is a rank of tactical and technical experts. And his shoulders are adorned with masks with different expressions, suggesting that although he may seem emotionally cold or cut off, he does strive to contemplate issues from various points of view in a methodical way. Standing on the armrests of his throne to either side are sylphs that represent the transmission of ideas and goals of intellectual merit. This is a temperate personality that is usually hospitable and just. However, the forces of air can also be cold and ruthless as the winter landscape in the background. When reversed, this card is a warning of manipulative tactics and abuse of power. Negative aspects may also indicate misuse or lack of mental acuity. But when upright, this card represents the epitome of the ultimate intellectual administrator. The King of Swords represents complete authoritative control over situations, and he always has the final word. Our journey will soon continue with the King of Cups. In the meantime, you're always welcome to visit my website where you can browse and collect my offbeat artwork as well as schedule tarot readings. And please be sure to give this episode a thumbs up and leave a comment to share your support and subscribe if you haven't already. And until next time, brightest blessings on your spiritual journey.